Hello, and welcome to Effective Performance Management, conducting ongoing check-ins. This video will discuss why having regular conversations throughout the year with employees is such a crucial part of performance management, and we'll share how to implement strategies to ensure the conversations are effective. Conducting ongoing check-in conversations are a part of the simplified performance management approach adopted here at the University of Minnesota. Grounded in science and best practices, the simplified approach transforms performance management from a burdensome administrative exercise to the intentional and meaningful practice that drives performance. First, let's take a look at what makes a simplified approach to performance management effective. Typically, the performance management cycle starts with a lot of activity as managers and employees meet to discuss and set annual goals, if they're set at all. Then, throughout the year, as other priorities demand time and effort, the goals set can often be set aside. This leads to another spike in activity at the end of the performance cycle, as managers and employees make a scramble to try to remember what goals were set, what goals might need to be updated, and what goals were accomplished. This can easily turn it into a time-consuming, arduous process. A simplified approach allows you to focus on what matters most, improving performance and developing people. It advocates for spending your time setting broad and challenging goals, having regular, meaningful, and quality conversations throughout the year to support people in achieving those goals, and concluding with a simplified, cycle-end, formal performance evaluation process. With this, performance evaluation becomes more of a summary of those check-in conversations that happen throughout the year, not a surprise, an afterthought, or a time-consuming activity. Not only does this approach drive effective performance management, it's also more reflective of the dynamic nature of our work. Priorities, resources, and information can shift dramatically during the course of a performance cycle, sometimes even within a week. Performance management should keep pace with the reality of our workplace, and setting goals that allow for flexibility and having ongoing conversations regularly to provide feedback is key. Once goals are set, it's crucial to discuss them regularly through ongoing check-ins. Ongoing conversations or check-ins are short discussions centered on goals that occur regularly throughout the year. Having regular, meaningful conversations is key to on-the-job learning, which is the single most important way people improve and grow at work. Ongoing check-ins operationalize the goals that have been set and promote effective performance management. It's an opportunity for an employee and supervisor to check in on progress towards goals, update priorities, stay aligned on current projects, discuss what's going well and what could be better, and also agree on next steps. How do you conduct ongoing check-ins? As a supervisor, it's important to determine your strategy for regular check-ins. If you already have regular check-ins with employees, revisit how things are going. You can make adjustments as the work changes throughout the year. If you haven't implemented them yet, we encourage you to determine the best approach for you and your direct reports. The ideal frequency of check-in discussions depends upon the work, the person, and any local practices or expectations for supervisors. For most roles, ongoing check-in conversations around goals should happen at least quarterly, and they can be as short as 15 minutes. Note that if you meet more often to discuss day-to-day work and development, you can incorporate goal conversations into your existing meetings. Use your judgment regarding what will best support the performance and development of each person you supervise. Ongoing check-ins are important, but they do take time. It can be difficult to consistently find the time in the midst of all the other important work priorities and demands. So it becomes even more crucial to ensure that when you do conduct the ongoing conversation, that it's meaningful for the employee and the work. First, discuss expectations for roles and responsibilities. Share what you plan to do as a supervisor and what you expect your direct reports to do in respect to connecting throughout the year for check-ins. A good time to do this is at the beginning of the performance cycle after the completion of the prior year, and then revisit as needed, and especially if one or both of you are not taking ownership for your role in check-ins. As a supervisor, be clear on frequency and purpose of check-ins. Define what success looks like and provide feedback. Encourage your direct report to ask questions, accept, and act on feedback. Be proactive with updates and also take ownership of making progress on the goals and opportunities for development. Next, review the goals. By design, check-in conversations are centered around goals and supporting their progress. Open the conversation with a review of the goals. The employee should provide updates, which could include progress since the last conversation, changes to resources or timelines that impact the goal, additional information, or questions they may have. As a supervisor, be sure to reaffirm and discuss how individual projects and assignments fit into the bigger picture. When people understand how their efforts contribute to serve a bigger purpose, they'll be more motivated and engaged in their work. If priorities shifted, set new goals or update existing goals to reflect the change. See the quick guide to goal setting for more details on how to do this. Discuss the following questions. How does this project or assignment fit into the employee's annual goals? If it doesn't, discuss why it makes sense for this person to take on this project or assignment. What does success look like with regards to the goals? What behavioral competencies will be most important for success? After reviewing goals, discuss and provide at least 2 comments to reinforce and/or redirect the employee's progress. This does not need to be a formal assessment. Instead, provide 2 comments on the progress of that individual's goals or what did they do well to advance the goals, and 2 comments about things your direct reports can do more or less of in the future. What do they need to be aware of? It's not providing 2 comments about every goal, but 2 comments about the most important things that you could coach or give that person feedback on at that time. This should take no more than about 15 minutes. Remember, since it's a regular check-in, you'd have another meeting with them again soon to revisit and provide feedback again. For example, if one of RAV's annual goals is to manage a large grant project in collaboration with the faculty committee in order to be competitive for federal funding, feedback provided to RAV during an ongoing check-in may sound like this. RAV, on that large project, I'm hearing great things from our college leadership team. You appear to be very inclusive in how you're managing that. RAV, on the proposal side, it appears to be about a month behind schedule. I'm not sure if you don't have enough resources, if you're not focusing enough attention on it, or just overwhelmed, but currently it will miss the deadline. To make sure your feedback is effective, it's important to describe the situation, behavior, impact, or SBI model. The situation refers to the context, the behaviors are the action or inaction that the employee took, and the impact refers to the results of the action on the work, others, and/or themselves. A common challenge to providing feedback is when someone responds to feedback by arguing, getting defensive, or simply seeming to not care. Or someone may seem to accept your feedback and coaching, but then nothing changes. It's as though you never had the conversation in the first place. When any of these things happen, consider the person's level of self-awareness and motivation to learn from feedback. If they're not self-aware or motivated, it needs to be addressed first in order for them to be open to receiving the feedback. People who demonstrate self-awareness know their strengths, development opportunities, and can have open and honest conversations about them. If an employee seems defensive or doesn't respond to your feedback and coaching, consider, do they actually know what their strengths are? Do they know what their needs are? For example, do you have a direct report who constantly interrupts people when they're talking? Have they been given feedback about this behavior and the impact it has on others? Have they received this feedback more than once? To give them the benefit of the doubt, they may not be aware that they're doing these things. And if they do, they may not fully appreciate how big of an impact it's having. So helping them understand the negative impact on others is the place to start. By the way, this applies to both strengths and development needs. Many people aren't aware of what they're doing well. In fact, some of the most talented people can also be the most critical of their own skills and accomplishments. Be sure to give plenty of feedback about strengths as well as development needs. If someone has self-awareness and knows what they need to work on, but they're not putting much time or energy into it, then there may be a lack of motivation to change. If the person is not motivated, then you'll find yourself giving the same feedback and coaching over and over again, but there'll be little to show for it. In this case, the key is to try to understand why the person doesn't see the point of taking action to learn and improve. Then help the person see what's in it for them if they do put time and effort into it. By our nature, people strive for purpose and meaning in their lives, including at work. Are they looking for stronger connections with others, influencing others, having more autonomy, or demonstrating their skills and expertise? Keep in mind that other people may have very different sources of motivation than you do. Taking time to reflect on these aspects will help clarify next steps, which may be additional feedback, training for new skills, stretch assignment, or additional resources. See the quick guide to coaching for coaching steps and questions to ask when determining the best way to support and coach employees. Finally, after reviewing the goals and providing comments, discuss and agree on next steps for the work, for the person's development, and for your future check-ins. Confirm who is doing what by when. This can be a simple conversation or a more detailed formal process. Consider what makes the most sense. Once the actions and next steps have been discussed, summarize the information as reference for future check-ins, especially since it will help inform the formal evaluation at the end of the year. To summarize, conducting ongoing conversations are key to driving effective performance management. We've reviewed a definition and strategies for the purpose of ongoing check-ins, discussing roles and responsibilities of check-ins, reviewing and updating goals, evaluating progress and providing comments about goals, using the SBI model and considering their employees' self-awareness and motivation, and discussing and summarizing the next steps. Setting good goals and having meaningful conversation is not only a powerful way to drive performance, but a great way to turn the annual performance evaluation into a simple summary of conversations and work that were happening throughout the year. Additional resources are available at z.umn.edu/performance management. You may also want to refer to the Supervisory Development Program site at supervising.umn.edu for more information on the performance management fundamentals and other supervisory topics. For questions, reach out to us at ltd@umn.edu. Thanks for watching.